Share the sound. Good morning, everybody.
Hello. I'm trying to
All
see how
right.
many faces are people we don't know because primarily this whole launch party thing is going to be aimed towards nurses who don't know what nurse coaching is. And then at the end, we'll talk about it for how it's relevant to you guys who are already certified that we do know that we've worked with. And then this recording will go out to the masses. So thank you all for being here live.
Yeah, it's way more fun to talk to a group of people. We had over 300 people register for this, and I had many messages this morning from people who wanted to be here but who are working. So if you're catching the recording, thanks for taking the time afterwards to tune in. We really appreciate it. All right, folks. Well, let's get started. I'll start, and Laura will kick us off here.
All right, guys. Well, I am very nervous and excited at the same time to show you what we've been working on for the last 8 months, which is a new nurse coach certification called the Nurse Life Coach Academy. And we're going to kind of share what it is, why we did it, who we are, if you don't already know us. And then at the very end, talk more about the logistics.
Yeah. So today, if you guys hang in our circle quite a bit, you're like, Lauren, Shelby never do agendas, and you're right. But we are trying something different this time. So we are going to be doing a little intro. What is nurse coaching? How it works in the real world? How our life coach certification is different than other things you see out on the market. And we're going to talk a little bit about, the financial and career outlook. We're going to give you a mini tour of things going on inside of the course so you can get a first row view. And then we're going to tell you about a little bit about our marketing plan and have a Q&A tossed in here as well. So it's going to be a jam-packed session this morning. And yeah, we're going to start off easy. For those of you who don't know me and Laura, we came up with a little slideshow. Look at us.
So, my name's Laura, and if you haven't been binging our podcast episodes, I wanted to introduce myself. I have been a nurse for 12 years, a nurse coach for 6 years, and 12 weeks into my certification, I opened my private practice. And by the end of my certification, I had 6 paying clients when I graduated. And Shelby was my peer coach. She talked me into getting a downtown office. That's that picture of the holistic nurse coach in the corner is actually my storefront that I had 4 months into my certification. And after about a year and a half into private practice, we had so many nurse coaches ask us what we were doing because we were making money and a lot of people weren't. So that's kind of how our first company, the Successful Nurse Coaches, was born. And since then, we've mentored over 300 nurse coaches in private practice and have taken some other coaching certifications in education. What we found was that out of all of our clients, probably only 5 to 10% identified as wellness coaches or health coaches, and 90% were really operating more as a life coach. Yet all nurse coach trainings are focused towards health. And so we were thinking about this early last year. We were trying to figure out if there was anybody else who could create the certification, but the universe had us do it. And we really modeled it after the International Coach Federation's life coaching competencies and married it with the nurse coaching process. So my goal is to, I hope that in the next few years, because of this certification, that the word nurse coach will go from obscurity to a household name so that it's easier for all of us to do it in the real world.
Sweet. All right, team. A little quick intro about me. This is probably the highs and lows of my past 5 years, since 6 years since becoming a nurse coach. Like Laura said, we met in certification. We've been on this nurse coaching journey since 2018. And really, the decision to become a life coach has flipped my life inside out in the best way and expanded my horizons professionally and personally beyond my wildest dreams. I left my ER job pre-pandemic, and I was already fully burned out just after 5 years of bedside. And I honestly didn't know what I was signing up for. When I was becoming a nurse coach, I've always been a bit of a personal development junkie and, um, really embodying this work for myself and helping others to do it too has just really benefited my life for the better. In the past 6 years, I've had two amazing babies. You can see them there. If you have girls, this picture probably makes a lot of sense to you. But I have two babies. I've moved across the country twice. I've developed into a full-time coach and entrepreneur. And I also had open heart surgery somewhere in the middle of all of that as well, which really reminded me why nurse coaching needs to be bedside at the same time. I've been a patient in a hospital, but a lot these past 5 years. And so both in the world of private practice and in the hospital realm, this specialty is needed. Nurse coaching was always something that I wanted out of nursing, but I never knew that it existed. So if this is your first time getting to learn about nurse coaching and find out what it is, I'm really excited to be the one to tell you, because that's literally like when my whole life changed. I really get to care for people now in a way that feels in alignment for me, and I don't have to sacrifice time with my family or time for myself. Um, yeah, and I'm just really, really stoked. We've been in the game for many, many years now, and we haven't been able to serve the nurse to nurse coach yet. And we are, at least not in this capacity, and we're really excited to be able to share it all with you today.
All right. So, what is nurse coaching? Just like Shelby, I had no clue what it was until a year in private practice. Even through certification, I was like, I kind of thought I knew what it was, but didn't really know what it is. So, if it feels obscure, welcome to the club. But a nurse coach is an RN who completes a certification program and practicum, meets all the requirements from the AHNA, and then sits for a board certification upon completion. Nurse coaches are required to do 60 CEUs of instruction and at least 60 CEUs hours as a coach. And NCBC gets added to the ends of your credentials, and it stands for Nurse Coach Board Certified.
All right, team. So if this is your first time hearing the acronym AHNA or nurse coach or any of these things, I hope to make it a little bit more tangible for you here. So the textbook definition from the AHNA, the American Holistic Nurses Association, is defined like this. So nurse coaching is a skilled, purposeful, results and oriented and structured client interaction that is provided by a registered nurse for the purpose of promoting the achievement of client goals. And if that just isn't the cutest textbook definition you've ever heard, but you're kind of like, what does that mean? How does that look in real life? I asked our community a few months ago how they would describe nurse coaching, just to hear it from nurse coaches in the way that in their own words. So I want to share a couple of those with you too. So a nurse coach is a registered nurse who uses a creative process to guide their clients to step into a healthier, more balanced, more fulfilled version of themselves. Nurse coaches use a holistic paradigm to look at every aspect of wellness, physical, emotional, spiritual, and relational, to create real healing for their clients and help them get out of the endless cycle of sickness and band-aid solutions. And that's from our homegirl, Rachel Dick. She's awesome. And one more definition here from Alyssa Herman. She says, nurse coaching has let me care for people on my terms and in a way that allows for freedom for my clients and myself, not based on our healthcare system's terms, or whether or not a patient declined a heparin shot that they probably didn't need anymore. So for me, similar to Alyssa and to Rachel, nurse coaching is a lot of things, but nurse coaching was also a way out of bedside for me. It was a way for me to have more time with my family and increase my income. But I think most importantly, what nurse coaching was a way for me to live out my purpose professionally, to honor a deeper calling that I had, to care for people differently, to use my nursing license differently. I really love to love on people and inspire people and encourage them to live to their fullest potential. And I get to do that here in nurse coaching land. It's really the best. I really love it.
And what we hear from nurses all the time, I've been talking to nurses all week in their DMs, and they're like, what is this? And how does it work? And like, where do you go? And like, where are the jobs? And so we wanted to outline, how does it actually apply in the real world? Because I think that there's so many certifications and educational things that we do, that we take, and then we don't really know what to do with it. And we just become like a forever student. And so there's really two ways that you get paid as a professional nurse coach. It's either the private practice route or working for an organization. My sense and my intuition is that organizational coaching is about to explode. It's been slowly growing in our community for the last 6 years, yet nurse coaches are traditionally trained in health and wellness coaching, and that's not what hospitals need. Hospitals need coaches that are trained more in leadership, in life coaching, in communication styles. It's a different body of work. So I think that our certification would be a natural step to organizations if that's the route that you wanted to go. Shelby and I both went private practice. I started in-person office coaching. She started online practice, moving all over the country, or you can do a combination of both. And in organizations, you can work for the hospital. You can coach new grads to keep retention. You can coach leadership. You can coach floor nurses. In some private practices, nurse coaches are on staff to coach patients. And then also non-medical industries have corporate wellness departments where you can be either a health coach or a life coach for staff. We see that growing exponentially. And I think what I also want to say is that when we meet nurse coaches, it seems, or people that are drawn to this, it seems that you have a very similar value as us. And that is that you really, really want to help your patients, but you really just want to help people. And there's a sense that you can't help in the way that you want to. There's this sense that you're going to work, you're getting paid to do something, but you have like a governor on your impact and the way that you can actually work with people. So how it works in the real world is you get paid to be fulfilled, to help people in the way that you desire to serve. And there's a lot of bigger questions here that we're going to open up some space at the end of the call for you guys. But I wanted to just give you some numbers, and we'll go over some of these numbers again. For private practice, we have recorded, or our clients have recorded almost $4 million in client revenue in the last 3.5 years. You can coach outside of your state. You can coach in person. You do not have to be a social media influencer. You can coach and make a great income and eventually earn enough to have your own health insurance. You do not have to hate your day job to pursue this. And this can be something that enhances what you're already doing. Now, as far as taking coaching into the hospital setting, Shelby and I have not done this personally, but we've mentored people who have. So I'm going to give you one quote around this. So this is from Nicole Lohanen, and we have mentored her for a few years. I don't know if she's here today, but this is her words. And she says, "My role as a nurse coach in my hospital is to support the next generation of nurses through their first 6 months as nurses in a hospital setting. We challenge common fears and mindsets that cause increased stress, overwhelm, and anxiety that arise through this transition. We bring truth to the surface and empower new nurses to gain confidence, joy, and purpose through the lens of a new perspective and transform their experience into a positive and fulfilling beginning instead of an anxiety-ridden beginning." I so wish I had a Nicole, like my first 6 months in the ICU. Like my first 6 months in the ICU, I was pregnant. I gained 30 pounds. Like I couldn't take antidepressants because I was pregnant, but I should have been on them. So I love that as a potential role, just even bringing it in for the new nurse programs at hospitals. All right, so whatever path you take, you're going to have tools to help you do better. And I want to give you a personal example here. Laura 7 years ago could not buy a house or a car and negotiate. Laura 7 years ago couldn't talk to an asshole surgeon and stand up to him in a way where he could hear her. There are ways of communicating and ways of being that we get through this training that changes every relationship in your entire life. And if I sound like a little bit like Tony Robbins here, it's because it's kind of like that. And we're going to keep showing you some more ways.
You didn't know you're going to get to meet Tony Robbins on this call today. Also, someone in the chat is just like, "Shelby, your mouse is the most distracting thing on the planet." Sorry, team. Had no idea that you could see that. So I would turn it off if I knew how, but I appreciate your patience with me on that one. All right, team. So like Laura said, we are not experts necessarily in bringing coaching into the hospital. However, we have mentored dozens of nurse coaches who have done that. However, we are experts in private practice, and we help nurse coaches make money in the entrepreneur business owner world. But also, we really help you build a business to where you like really, really love what you do. You are in full control. You get to pivot on a dime. You don't have to seek anybody's approval. JCO is not coming to check your charting. There's a lot of freedom in the world that we work in. And to give you some context for, because a lot of times nurses will find out about nurse coaching and they're like, is this an MLM? Is this a cult? Is this real? Is this a scam? And we have been mentoring nurse coaches in private practice for many years, and we have a lot of data to back up of like how real this is, how lucrative this can be if you want to be an entrepreneur. So like I said, we've mentored over 340 nurses, and um, at least 20 out of 200 have made six figures in their first 18 to 24 months. Nurse coaching in general is a business with a pretty low overhead. Like if you're going to be online, you really need like a video platform like this one, like Zoom, which is pretty affordable throughout the year. If you choose to be in person, we get to be a little bit more creative, but a lot of our clients meet in a library or they go on a walk with their clients. And so you don't even have to have like a traditional brick and mortar to get started. Um, at least 10 of them have been paid by their hospital to bring nurse coaching in, like as staff. A lot of them host free workshops and things trying to get their foot in the door, but there are paid nurse coaches and paid roles in hospitals. Five of them, which most of them are on our lead coaching team over at the Successful Nurse Coaches, have made over $300,000 in their first 2 years of business. Hundreds of nurse coaches have been paid to host workshops and retreats. 200 plus have reported that their life has completely changed through this process, and Laura and I can speak to that firsthand. Lots of people have left their jobs, current jobs, to do something that is higher paying and in more alignment, whether that is like working in a functional medicine office or doing something more corporate. Like there's many opportunities out there. And 40 have partnered with other companies to bring nurse coaching in. And just like with, I think, anything new, these nurse coaches have had to do a lot of legwork in educating people what nurse coaching is, how it can benefit all different varieties of populations. And so we have a lot to say thank you for all of these nurses. The ripple effect is really huge, to where I meet people now when I go to the doctor and they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of nurse coaching. They might not have total clarity on what it is, but they've at least began to hear of it. Versus when I started 6 years ago, I told somebody that I was a nurse coach and they asked me, oh, so is that hospice nursing? And I was like, no, like I literally have no idea how you got from point A to point B. So the more nurses that have this skill, the more nurses who can educate our medical model on what nurse coaching is, the more nurses who are fulfilled in their role and in their work in the world, is what we're super jazzed about. All right, team, let me see if I'm missing anything. Nope. All right, we're good to move along. All right. Again, I think that hearing this from someone besides Laura and myself can be really helpful. So here are some other previous clients of ours, people who are in our world, real experiences of like what it's like to go through nurse coaching certification. So Sandy says, after becoming a nurse coach, I can say this is the first time in my 46 years that I am living who I truly am. Through this course, my confidence has skyrocketed. I've prioritized self-care, re-engaged with my life and relationships, and I have fun. I look forward for what is to come. This is a huge change from where I was at last year. I have the full confidence that I will succeed in private practice and can't wait to see what is to come. From Missy, I have the tools and the capacity to do more things, to do more difficult things, and to cope differently and better with life's hard circumstances. I am building a business that I call a lifestyle business. I don't have to conform to anything except for what I want. That like gives me chills.
Me too.
Yeah. From Karen has been, gosh, a longtime supporter of us. We have so much love for her. So looking back on the past 4 years, when I started this, I can't even recognize who I was. It allowed me to know I could be anyone I wanted. And it's still evolving. There's no turning back, and that's for sure. My standards in life are so much different. This is the best place to be able to be authentically me. And lastly, here from Terry, I cannot believe the difference in myself since becoming a nurse coach. The daily anxiety with heart palpitations is gone. If it tries to test me again, I take notice, I slow down, and I breathe. I am truly living now. Yes, I still have a lot going on in my life with my family and continuing my health journey, but I'm doing it. The world looks different. I am different. And if this sounds corny and cheesy, I can understand from someone looking in from the other side of the glass. But if you are from our community, if you have a little story to add to this as well, would you pop it in the chat for me, just for all of the nurses coming in for the first time? This is 4 stories out of hundreds of people that we personally know, that we have personally worked with. And if it sounds a little cheesy, it's because it is, and it's because it's true. Like it really, becoming a nurse coach was one of the best things that I have ever done for myself in this lifetime.
All right. So we wanted to kind of tell you guys why this certification is going to be a little bit different. And then before I read the slide up, I wanted to say that I feel like our certification is less like nursing school and more like being precepted on the floor in real life. So this is much less about theory and much more about practical application. And I think that the gift that we have is because all we've done is practical application for the last 6 years with so many people in so many different ways. So we hoped to write each lesson and each framework aimed at making you feel ready to take it into the real world. We have the most live hours available compared to any other of the main certifications, as well as hundreds of hours of optional content material that is not included in the 120 CEUs. When I went through my certification, I had space and time, and I would have sucked up anything that I could get my hands on, but there was no material. There was no content. There was no YouTube channels. There was just nobody doing this. And so we've included a lot of optional content, a lot of optional videos, a lot of optional material if you have and want more time and you want more mastery, which I really like. And for those of you who are totally busy working full time, this is a 4 to 5 hour week commitment for 6.5 months to get you through. That's okay too. You can always come back after you graduate and soak up all the optional content. So we are hoping to offer this at a really, really low price. And it's either incredibly genius on our part or totally naive. Like we're not sure yet. We'll let you know at the end of 2025.
Yeah.
And here's just some of the things that we cover. We cover, and this is so great for nurses, we cover workaholism, energy management, boundaries, how to let go of grudges, time management. I'm not even going to read each one. I'm going to just have you guys kind of scan this and look at all of these things. One of the things I love about our certification is we talk about being a highly sensitive person and emotional intelligence, because I have found that 60 to 70% of all nurse coaches identify as highly sensitive people. And if you've never heard HSP or heard that term, it'll be explored deeply inside of our course. So as you are looking at all of these, for those of you who are live, can you put into the chat which one of these would be the most interesting to you to dive into?
Also, thank you to those of you who shared your story. Love, 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 love.
I feel like for me right now, it would be celebrating failure, detoxing relationships. That's an interesting lesson, and even friendship creation, because me and Shelby were talking about this earlier. It's like, do we have any non-nurse coach friends anymore? I don't know. Like all my friends are nurses and nurse coaches. And so friendship creation is such a wonderful tool to work with our life coaching clients, because in the United States, adults have an epidemic of loneliness and lack of friendship. It's just the way that our culture has evolved. And so we've done a lot of relationship lessons to help a lot of our clients with the more relationship side.
Mm-hmm. Workaholism is a big one I'm seeing in the chat.
Oh,
And
cool.
just as you guys are like popping through here, I have a very quick little story of I was coaching a nurse coach who had been a travel nurse for a very long time. And they were traveling, they were like locally traveling to like a few hours over to different towns, hodgepodging their travel nurse contracts, which left little to no time for them to work on themselves as a nurse coach to build their business. And so we did this for like 10 weeks. And then finally I was like, you can't sign up for any more overtime. And that's not a very traditional coaching skill to tell your client that they can't do something. But this client was like, yeah, sure, I won't. And I was like, no, I challenge you to not take any overtime for the next 3 weeks. And he's like, okay, I got it. And y'all, it radically changed his life, that simple challenge, because he was like, I had no idea just how addicted to the overtime, to not being at home, to being away, like there was all of these relational things that came up with workaholism. And I would also be interested if we get to work with you guys in certification, if we get to touch on that and support you in it as well, just really mastering the art of beginning to slow down and make time for you. Um, but yeah, HSPs, authenticity, motivation, celebrating failure, cognitive distortion, but
Cognitive
work.
distortions are my favorite. We might even
Yeah,
open it up on this call. We might even do that if we have time. I think we might. We'll see. We'll see if we have time.
the universe will say we'll
Yeah.
follow divine guidance. We'll follow divine
Yeah.
guidance. All right, team.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for popping in the chat. All
Yeah,
right.
super appreciate it.
You guys want to take a tour? Let me share my screen here. All right, so we're just going to take you through a quick tour of the modules. So you just get a feel for what the outline is, the way that it's developed, and kind of what the content is. And for those of you who are nurse coaches contemplating taking this training for CEUs, this will give you an idea of what's involved. So we have actually developed our own coaching structure for nurse life coaching. So this was taken from multiple different coaching texts, ICF life coaching course, and just through all of our experience. And we've created a new structure from which to learn and do life coaching calls. So that's involved in the nurse life coach session overview. We go over theories and frameworks. You, the nurse life coach, we prepare you intensely for practicum with a lot of videos, real videos with real people. We actually just put a call out to do some more of those so that there's a lot of demos for you to see. We didn't have that when we went through certification, and we hope to give you a bunch of different demonstrations of that. Core coaching skills, and then deepening practices. So core coaching is the main things you need to do a nurse coaching session. Deepening are the skills that take you deeper and make you better at your craft. Putting it all together, and then nurse life coaching tools, which I'll show you in a moment. And we also have a 5-hour course on sitting for your boards. So you will not have to do this on your own. This is actually, you get CEUs for this. This prepares you 100% to take your board successfully. We have a lesson on bringing nurse coaching to your organization, a path to private practice, and an introduction to deep coaching, which is just another slightly different modality, which a certain percentage of nurse coaches are really drawn to. And then in nurse life coaching tools here, I'm going to show you what you're going to get.
Before we open this, or like
Yeah.
as we open this, everybody take a deep breath and be like, if spreadsheets are not your jam, just know, I promise, if you join us for certification, you're going to froth at the mouth whenever this like makes more sense for you. We had shared this with a couple of our clients, and they're like, I wish I had this. I wish, like, this is so helpful. I even had a client tell me like, oh my God, it's like Christmas Day. So
Yeah.
I personally get overwhelmed by spreadsheets, but this one is really sexy to me because our hope with this is that you can, even if you don't know 100% what the next right move is, you have a long list of tools that can support you in
Yes.
supporting your clients well.
Yeah. In the nurse coaching in and of itself is an art. And so you're going to learn as you're going through and being trained that a lot of it is open space. A lot of it is an open canvas, and a lot of it is not protocols and procedures. It is not linear. But as nurses, as having a scientific brain, depending on which background we have, that is almost intolerable to us. We want to have a linear path and process that we can take people through. But when you're new, you don't have any. And so these are essentially kind of like policies and procedures and protocols that you can take and bring into certain conversations based on what your client needs. So we have balance and self-care tools, life coaching tools, productivity and time management tools, a relationship toolkit. That's the one that I wish I had in the beginning, because relationships come up so often in coaching conversations. Someone hires you to lose weight, inevitably you're talking about their marriage, right? And self-discovery, these are great for clients that don't know who they are, what they want to do. They say, I don't know a lot. And then visioning and goal setting. And the cool part about having this in a summary spreadsheet is that I love spreadsheets like so much. And as I do exercises with clients, I actually add things to it. So this will be a living document that grows over time. And it'll be just a library of resources for you to use. We won't do cognitive distortions. I'll keep it up just in case if we have time.
Awesome. All right, team. Almost to the end here. I think I figured out the distracting mouse situation. So we're learning. All right, friends. So we want to pause here actually for a little Q&A before we go on to like next steps and how you get started. So if you want to, I think with just so many people on the call, it'd be easier for you to pop your questions in the chat and we can see if there's any themes and tend to them. But yeah, this is a preview of the one lucky nurse that gets to have their certification at the very end. So like Laura was saying, you get to have CEUs, you get to add extra letters after your last name. This is a very official for life coaching world where it can be highly unregulated, and you can get a life coaching certification in like 3 hours if you really wanted one. This is all regulated through the AHNA and very official. All right, team. Let's see the questions we got. I saw one of like, how long do you get access to everything? As long as we're in business, you have access to everything. So as we update it, as we tweak it, and as we polish it, you'll get updates to all of it.
Hey, Becky, the test prep is included in the preceptorship course. So you already have access to it.
You can get board certified for nurse coaching and the holistic boards as well for both.
Yes. Our course is not meant to cover everything for the other one. It's really focused more on the NCBC, but it qualifies for both.
I know that I'm in a room full of nurses and I know that you guys have more questions. It's impossible. It's impossible that there was 2. I promise no question is too weird or too simple. If you are already a nurse coach, this qualifies you to recertify. You need 100 CEUs every 5 years.
Is it 100 or 200?
I'm almost sure it's 100.
Okay. Yeah. So, Monica, I also want to talk to you about how does this help you? It depends on how you feel, how confident you are in your coaching. This is how I would see it, depending on where you are in your practice, how it would help you. It forces you to revisit all of the things that you learned originally, but to go much deeper. And so even in the last 9 months, I've been diving into like relearning, rereading, and trying to disseminate and figure out what I wanted to put in here. And a lot of it was like reading it for the first time. So it's really deepening. If you haven't taken any other education since your original certification, this is fantastic. Shelby and I have taken 2 or 3 other courses on learning how to do things differently. And what happens when we're actively learning, we just tend to feel more confident and more connected to our purpose. So from a business standpoint, this just puts a little bit more momentum under your wings while you get some CEUs to recertify. That would be my question on, or my answer on that. Yeah, so Lisa, okay, so the difference between the 2 certifications, there's the holistic nurse certification and the NCBC. I have an unpopular opinion about certifications. I don't think you should have as many as you can because they all cost money to keep up with, right? So I think you pick one that fits more closely to what you want to be known for and have the authority around. If you want to work in organizations that are holistic based, then maybe the holistic certification would be best. I think nurse coach board certified is more broad and applies to more places and eventually will be more well known. That's my answer to that.
There isn't a, like, being a holistic nurse versus a nurse coach board certified. There's not like that being a holistic nurse qualifies you for X, Y, and Z, and nurse coaching qualifies you for X, Y, and Z over here. There might be some jobs that you apply for that are looking for a very specific type of certification, which is something to consider. But I find that nurse coaching, the NCBC covers you for whatever you need. And there's not a lot of extra perks to having multiple certifications, similar to what Laura just said. It's kind of a lot to keep up with. All right, Lily, provide me more context with your networking question. All right, Aaron has a question of the organizational aspect of the course, spreading a seed now and offering coaching to nurse leaders, but I still want a private practice and don't want to stay in the don't want to stay a hospital employee forever. Can this help me generate some strategy around stepping into like a more consultant role?
Yeah, awesome, Aaron. So, Aaron, how many hours have you coached total? So you had 60 in your certification, and how many hours since certification do you think that you've been in the coaching seat? If you could answer that. Okay. So in our course, we do not recommend any pitching to the hospital of any sort until you're at 150 hours. And so that's the first like guideline that we would have you hit. So that's why private practice is great. Or for those of you who want to do organizational coaching, going through this where you're set up to do 60 hours, because unless you've sold coaching and you've coached 150 hours, you don't have the words, the language, or the experience to talk to upper management and sell programs. It's just like a lack of experience. I'm sure there's outliers and there's exceptions to this rule, but that's the first bar that I would say. And then the next thing I would say is, what problem are you solving in the organization? And how much money will you save them? Those are the 2 next most important things that you need to be able to answer ad nauseum, like the back of your hand. That's kind of what we have in the course. But we're hoping that part of the course gets developed further as more organizational positions become available. And we have a couple of experts that we're hoping to bring in and offer more context on that after you have 150 hours. I hope that helps.
All right. Lots of recertification questions, trying to address those in the chat. All right. Okay. So we have a question from Kelly. The worksheet seems valuable, always digging for resources. And there's everything in one spot. Thank you for putting this together. And then, yeah, Kelly, I'm going to share yours for the recording, your little blurb, if that's okay. Nurse coaching has given me the hope, being able to heal my burnout self and my own life. And also nurse coaching has given me the hope to really be able to help others in a more impactful way. Awesome.
Monica Bean. We hope that this will have ICF credits one day. It does not at this point, but that is the goal, that for You really don't need to be ICF certified and NCBC certified unless you want to go work in an organization that's not in healthcare that requires an ICF credential. But as far as private practice goes, you don't need an NCBC and ICF. It will not give you any advantages in the world at all, just more money to spend. But if we can get you a twofer, at some point, we'd like to make this be add credits towards ICF certification.
Totally. Totally. ICF certification is a beast, y'all. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've been in any ICF certification processes before, but holy smokes, there's a lot of hoops. Lots of
Yeah.
hoops for that one, and we're working on it. Joyce, I'm going to answer this question out loud. I know Amanda nabbed it for us in the chat, but having a compact license, are you able to coach amongst the US? Once you have a certification, you can coach anywhere. Short answer is yes, if you are coaching outside of your state bounds. And this is kind of like the perk of being operating under the life coach title as well. It's less confusion. But you'll have one being like, client acknowledge your contract. Client acknowledges that, Laura is not operating under her nursing license, just to cover your butt there, essentially. And then if you are within a compact, which luckily for us compact nurses is most states, you're totally covered. No big deal. Can coach across state lines.
I think in the next 24 to 36 months, there's a lot of movement towards making your NCBC let you coach everywhere. So if that's a concern for you, the only place this would make a big difference is if you wanted to coach in an organization that you didn't have a license in, and obviously you just go get a license in that state.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as private practice, there is a way to coach internationally in every state in the United States safely and legally. And people have been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah. Yes. All right, Molly, I see your last question here. Does this help you get payment from insurance companies for your sessions? No. Nurse coaches have a number to be able to file with insurance companies, but that's essentially it. Nurse insurance doesn't pay for nurse coaching sessions, to my knowledge, right now. And also, I used to work in a chiropractor office back before I was in nursing school at all. And he filed insurance, and I think he charged something very reasonable for his adjustments. They're like 40 or $50 every time you came in, and he did a 45-minute appointment. And even with filing the insurance being like, this is what my adjustment costs, the insurance would come back and be like, I'm only paying you $27. I know that the appeal of having insurance on our side is big, and I think that eventually, hopefully there's a time and place for it, but I promise that having insurance infiltrate private practice, at least in the capacity that we do it, might cause more of a headache because they dictate what they're going to pay you. I do hold out the vision that there's something that works to where people can leverage. Well, you can use HSA and FSA to pay for nurse coaching as well, but yeah, for now, those are the rules we play with.
And life coaching is a $2.2 billion industry that is not run through insurance that people pay for. And nurse life coaches have more regulation than most of that industry. So we have a huge advantage in an industry that's already a cash pay industry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a whole, I get ads for chiropractors on my social media, which is so interesting because I've never been a chiropractor before, but there's coaches out there that help chiropractors go from an insurance-based model to a cash pay model and how to make that work. So we really do have the longer end of the stick here. I know it might feel like we don't from time to time, but having a cash pay industry is great. All right, team. Any other questions? I think we got to most of them here. All right, if you have any more questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. But we'll probably have some time. This is the first webinar ever where Laura and I have not been running late. I'm very proud of us right now. All right, team. So if you are wanting to get started, we want to clue you in because we have very, very limited seats for this first cohort. And so we want to give you the details, a little bit of behind the scenes stuff. So our very first cohort has 35 spots, Laura?
30, I think 33 left.
33 left. Okay, so we've had some people jump in already before today, but so we have 33 spots left, and it's going to be starting on August 1st, and your final date will be ending in February. You will have all of your hours done. Laura is going to be running this cohort, so you will get an expert nurse coach riding shotgun alongside with you. We have 33 spots because it is our plan to run our first cohort. And we've taken a lot of time planning this, but we want to not send 1,000 of you through this course when there might be potential potholes that we can fix. But we want to keep it very limited, very intimate, very small, so we can work out any kinks we got in our back end, and really be able to support this first group very intimately, and just, yeah, not have you guys be overwhelmed or us running it for the very first time.
Yeah.
And we are offering a launch party special. So for the full 7 months, for all CEUs, for everything that you need, it's going to be $2,999 for the investment. And if you jump in before the first, have the weekend to think about it. The code expires at midnight for $200 off. Amanda is going to be sending you an email with all of these details as well, so you don't have to stress. Amanda, though, if you don't mind popping that link in the chat, so if people want to pull it up, they totally can. And as of yesterday, we found out something really cool. We have these extra payment plans. And also, if you guys are thinking about going into private practice, I'm very excited to be telling you about this. If you've seen online shopping, if you've seen Klarna or Afterpay before, we now have access to Klarna and Afterpay. So a little peek into our entrepreneur brain. Whenever people don't pay in full, it's a risk on your business. And we've had payment plan options before, but we have to buffer. You have to take into account if people don't complete their payment plan, like how does that affect your bottom line? And now we have more flexibility than ever with payment plans through Klarna, through Afterpay. And Laura, do you mind speaking just a little bit more to like the credit aspect of this, since you did a deeper dive on it yesterday?
Yes. So the way that they're able to do this is really cool, is these two companies essentially, they want your business. They want to, you get, every time you use your credit card, it costs the person who you're buying something from 3%. And so now you've got all these other companies clamoring for that 3% processing fee. And so Klarna and Afterpay, they want our business. And so they're offering 0%, like 0% APR on 4 payments, but then they charge a little bit on more than 4 payments. So they're going to make their money by longer payment plans. But to be honest, their payment plans are cheaper than the ones we've ever offered. So it's really, really cool. This is not a hard, they will check your credit report, I believe, but it's a soft check. It's not something that will be a credit card hit. It's not like opening a credit card. So they do a soft check on your credit and then we'll approve you. And we're told that for these price points, the approval rate is really, really high. And not that any of you on this call want to do this, but you could pay it over 18 months if you wanted and make it be like $200 a month. So it's incredibly flexible. I don't think most of us need to do that. But what I love about this is that if you are in a situation where making a big financial commitment is scary, but you know you want to do it, there's just so many more options. And so we are open to any feedback that you guys have as you have this process. But I've used both Klarna and Afterpay earlier in my personally. I just was never able to offer it for our programs. So we're stoked on that. And for the coaches out there with businesses, this is through Kajabi Payments. It's not something that I know how to get to you guys. As soon as I learn more about it, we'll tell you guys that too.
Yeah, literally something we set up yesterday at like 3 p.m. because we got the logistics and the details on it. So never easier to join in. I'm super excited for this particular opportunity. And kind of while we're here, Lisa asked a good question. She says, I'm brand new to all of this. Can you map out the whole process from someone just starting? And I would love to. So Lisa, as an example, if you were to start August 1st with us, the course itself takes from August until the middle of February. And while you're in certification, you are going to be doing an online learning style. So there's going to be videos of me and Laura teaching you all of the things, walking you through the whole process. You're going to be in a cohort of 34 other nurses walking this journey alongside with you. And we've estimated that it's going to be about 4 to 6 hours a week time commitment
Yeah.
for 6 or 7 months. It's very flexible, meaning that you can like watch the videos at 10 p.m. at night if that is what your schedule allows for, but you can really like log in at any time to do that. We do have planned calls. I won't use the word mandatory, but highly, highly, highly encouraged for some of your hours. And if you can't make live calls, we have a backup plan to take an extra client to meet all of your requirements to sit for the board exam. And Laura, how many people do they have to coach over?
You have to coach 60 hours total. And so you are going to have peer coaches, you're going to have private clients, and then we have something called Coaching Lab, where you get to come for 2 hours in a large group, go into breakout rooms, and you'll have a client in front of you. Out of all the certifications on the market that I know of, you get to coach more different people with Coaching Lab than any other cert, and you get to coach for a longer period of time. So you get to coach everybody for 6 hours. Um, you could coach 12 hours one week and you could coach 0 hours another week. There's lots of flexibility in the actual practicum part. But what we've done is we've kind of marched it out for you. I love spreadsheets. I'm type A, to give you like the most optimal rhythm for success. But there's always space for you to go on vacation, or if you have something planned and you're thinking, am I going to get behind? No, we have it set up so that you can take vacations and take some weeks off and be totally fine.
Totally, totally. And I'll speak to the test just a little bit, Lisa. The test is unlike any nursing exam you've ever taken. We usually give the advice of like study for 2 weeks, and then the study materials. I think the book itself is less than 100 pages or somewhere around there, and then we have a study guide as well. But you really just study for 2, 3 weeks, schedule your exam, and go take it. I have not known anybody who has failed the exam on the first try. So chances are you will not be the first. We will continue this hot streak in this nursing exam. For the at least the nurse coach board exam, it's kind of nice because no one's dying, no one's having a heart attack, no one is going septic. It's like, what should you consider when having an in-person client session? It's like taking into consideration the temperature of the room and the lighting of the room, and if you should light a candle. Like it's a much different vibe on this test. Lisa, let me know if that was helpful or if I can explain any of what we just said a little bit deeper. All right, team. So we have a cohort, like I said, starting August 1st, and then we have another cohort starting in January that will run through September. We are going to talk next that if you are a nurse coach already and you are just looking for the CEUs or to deepen your skill, I will be running a cohort for just you guys, and this might be the only time that we run it.
Yeah.
TBD. So just keep that in mind. This is for our current nurse coaches already board certified. This is your price. We wanted to give you a little discount for the CEU portion. I will be running this cohort. We also are going to be starting in August, running through February. And it will kind of be to be determined if we run this style of cohort in the future. So yeah, if you are a previous client of ours from Successful Nurse Coaches, if you already are a nurse coach, message us at info@nurselifecoachacademy.com and
Yeah.
we'll get you a special link. Okay. All right, let's pause here. There's a couple more questions popping up here in the chat.
Jackie. Okay. So we've had quite a few nurse coaches come into certification and have not been active and just didn't have the hours. But every hour of education and every hour that you coach is a coaching hour or is a nursing hour. So, worst case scenario is you'd need to just coach a lot before you could sit and get board certified. We've had nurse coaches make hundreds of thousands of dollars and not get their NCBC. We don't recommend that. It's just you should get it. It's good for everybody. If we the more active NCBCs we have in the country, the better it is for all of us for this particular profession. But there is a way, and we have had people appeal and win. That's always a moving target, but the hours of coaching are nursing hours. So that's the worst case scenario.
Totally. And if you guys have like really specific questions of like, I was a nurse and then I did the stay-at-home mom gig for 15 years and I haven't been bedside or in a clinic or outpatient in a long time, I would reach out specifically to the AHNA and have them advise you.
Yeah.
They approve appeals a lot for to being able to sit for the exam. They're very generous most of the time with being able to meet our community where they're at. And I can't recall a time where they've ever turned somebody down. So I would be curious, ask your ask. Worst case scenario, they say no, and we can come up
Yeah.
with a plan B. Yeah. All right, team. Any other questions here? Also feel free to unmute our if that's easier for you.
I want to address the price. I saw someone say, "Ooh, that's so cheap."
Oh yeah.
I want to address the price. So, the price of the two main certifications in the country are 4,500 or 5,500. So we're almost half. The way that we hope to be able to do this is that every student that goes through our certification, as long as they like it, you will have an affiliate link. And if any other nurse wants to take our program, you get an affiliate fee instead of us paying millions of dollars in Facebook ads. So that's our strategy. We'll let you know how it goes, but we thought we'd rather pay our students and pay our nurse coaches than pay Mark Zuckerberg or Instagram or YouTube or LinkedIn or all the other places that you have to do to advertise. So this is a totally different business model than any of the other certs, I think, on the market. And that's how we're hoping to keep it under 3,000. So it's available to a lot more people. I don't know if we will be able to do that long term. We'll see by the end of 2025 if that works or not, but that's why it's lower.
I personally think it's a genius idea, but like tune into the podcast in 2025 and you'll get the update. A part of that team is if you have questions, if you're like, is this the right place for me? Do I have the right nursing personality to like be a fit here? Chances are, yes, there's a lot of freedom in nurse coaching and all the things. But if you have a specific question, you want to run it by us of just like talk to a real nurse coach also too. I'm going to pop our business phone number in the chat. It's the 865 and you can just text us. Like and me or Laura actually answer these questions. We actually answer these text messages. I trust you not to text us at 11 p.m. or at 4 a.m. in the morning. Our notifications are usually off for that, but just that's a resource for you guys. That number also lives on our website if you need it. And all right, team. Joyce, thank you. I get it. I get told I love you a lot from strangers, but it still makes my heart warm and fuzzy.
Oh, Lisa, good question. Okay. I will give you a one sentence answer. Those who are really successful do things scared. That's really it. Like we're doing with this launching this certification.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more nuanced. We have lots of trainings for business on the other side of it. But I would say if I had to boil it down to one sentence, it's that. And in nurse coach training, that's kind of what you learn is that everything that you want is on the other side of a fear that you have to conquer. So it's really possible for anybody on this call.
Mm.
Oh, thank you, Nicole.
I was like, we're getting a lot of love in the comments. Thanks, team. We were nervous about this one. So I appreciate just all of our current clients showing up to support us. Greatly, greatly appreciate you.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to get to meet all of the nurses that we get to serve in this certification as well. Um, I really can say that it's never been easier to become a nurse coach, to get started as a nurse coach. Um, and we have, between Laura and I, we have over 10,000 hours easy in combined coaching time under the belt. And the certification was born from a deep place of experience. We've both been full time in our practice for many, many years. And we know like what's relevant out in the real world, what's helpful. And we poured all of that here for you guys. Um, so we're really stoked. And if you have any questions, if you get off this call, I can guarantee there's going to be like, oh, dang, I wish I would have asked this. I wish that came to my brain sooner. Um, I just encourage you, reach out. No question is too silly. And take advantage of the discount we have for you through the 1st. So we will be online this weekend, tending to any questions, um, anything you got. We're here for you.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Erin. Thank you. We hope so. You're speaking to my heart. All right, guys. Thank you. I mean, we're ending pretty early, right? Or are we right on time? Are we right on time? We're good.
I think we allotted for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is like the quietest crew as far as questions have gone. We really buffered extra time to be able to answer more. Um, yeah. And so I want to honor everybody's Friday of like, if you got cool plans, you're going to do the thing, please do. And we'll see you guys in August for cohort
Yeah.
1.
Awesome.
All
All
right,
right,
team.
guys. Thanks for coming. Bye.
Lots of love. Bye.